should sit down. We need to talk. Oh my God.
Hey guys, welcome back to my channel where I'll be doing another episode recap of today's Days of Our Lives, August 2, 2024. So in the first scene we see Kayla. She's on the phone trying to get through to Steve because, as you know, Steve is in Greece trying to look for John, right? So she just hopes that he gets back in touch with her. So she didn't have to wait long because Steve surprised her at the office, and she was surprised. She wasn't expecting him to come in, but anyways, he said that he just coming from the airport and he just had to see her first, apart from just going to the gift shop and giving her a flower. He has to be romantic as always. So she's like, so did you guys have a successful trip? Is John back? So he's like, no, John is not back. He couldn't find John, and he tried to see if he could find him at Katarina's gravesite, because remember, John is in Greece to atone for what he did to Katarina, even though he was brainwashed to do it, right? So he still feels guilty about it. So Steve tried to find him there. He didn't find him. He just saw some fresh flowers and a note. So he also tried at his hotel room, and they said that he was checked in. He hasn't been there for days, so he still can't find him. So he's hoping that the ISA can track him down and he might go back to Greece, but he also has to tell Marlena because Marlena still doesn't know. So he also found blood on the note, so they analyzed it and it turns out to be John's blood. And he also checked with authorities, and they said that there hasn't been any bodies around, unidentified bodies around, so he wants to know what could be the foul play at this point. So there's a lot of unanswered questions, but Kayla is like, you gotta call Marlena and tell her what's up. So that's what Kayla did, right? So we go over to Marlena, and Marlena is at the pub at the moment, and Paul comes in, right? So Paul is getting ready to leave back with Andrew, but he wanted to see his dad, so he asked Marlena if John was around. So she's like, no, John is still in Greece. So she hasn't been in touch with him since, because of everything with Constantine and stuff, and she hasn't been in touch. So she's just hopeful that Steve is over there taking care of him. So she said that she's more worried about Brady because she has been trying to get in touch with him and asking him to come to send off Eric, but he wasn't available, he wasn't around. So she's just worried, right? So Paul is like, maybe he's just working on a campaign for Basic Black, and that he's probably busy with that. So she's like, yeah, she understands that, but she's like, isn't like him not to stay in touch with her, and she's wondered if it has anything to do with Teresa getting married and everything that happened with that, and him just falling off the wagon. So she asked Paul if he saw anything that could be indicative of that. So he's like, he had a flashback where he caught Brady almost getting a drink, and he's like, no, I don't think he actually had a drink, or any slip up, not that I know of. He's just trying to protect Brady, but I don't know, So anyways, he tells Marlena that he's gonna look for Brady himself, and if he finds him, he's gonna let her know, right? So we go on to the next scene. So we see Sarah at her house, right, where she's just finding out from someone if Fiona has checked out of her room yet. So it turns out she hasn't checked out, so she's hoping that Fiona can attend her and Xander's wedding. So at this point, Xander comes in, and Xander tells Sarah that Teresa actually turned herself in for her crimes, and he's she's surprised that Teresa actually owning up to what she did. So Xander is not surprised because he's like, the cops would have found her anyways. So he's just happy that justice is being served, and hope that she gets put away for a long time. So Sarah's like, yes, so we can focus more on our wedding. And again, Sarah is being pushy and annoying and trying to push Xander to meet with his mom and work things out so that she can come to the wedding. I'm like, Sarah, you gotta understand that you cannot try to fix things between your partner and their their parents or their relatives, right? You gotta make them do it themselves at their own comfort, right? You just gotta be supportive with whatever they want, right? You can't be so pushy. So anyways, after budging so much as she always does, he actually gives in. Part of him was hesitant, part of him still don't believe the story that Sarah told him about how Fiona fell off the wagon and went to mental institution and all that. He still isn't buying it, but he said he still go meet with her, right? So we go on to the next scene. So speaking of Fiona, so she and Brady have been self-destructing for the past couple of days in that hotel room, right? And they've just been not even socially drinking, they've just been drinking themselves to oblivion at this point. They haven't been intimate, or so we know, but they have been drinking the past couple of nights and they just want to drown their sorrows, right? So at this point, Brady, he has no regrets about it. Even though he has a headache, he has no regrets about it, because he needed to drown his sorrows and forget about what happened with Teresa, and it just going down south, right? So he know he should be sober, but he doesn't blame Fiona. It's like, oh, I'm an enabler, right? He's like, no, this is all my doing, and you're just fun to drink with. So she's like, she shouldn't be drinking either, and she wants them to keep it on the hush hush and not let anybody know, right? But she just doesn't want to she doesn't think Xander and Sarah would approve of her drinking, so she doesn't want nobody else to know, right? So he's like, normally I would attend the meeting, but I just didn't want to do that. And she's like, yeah, I think meetings are tedious, and I just don't want to be, I don't want to deal with that at this point. So they're having the time of their lives, just drinking away, not caring about how that's really doing them internally and all of that, thinking that it's just gonna solve problems for them. But anyways, so she's like, you should come out, you should stay for dinner, and even though we didn't do anything, because he asked her if we did anything and she said no, she's like, oh, probably stay for a third night, maybe third night is the charm and all that. So she, he's like, no, I would love to, but no, I really need to get going. So at this point, he's gonna get a shower and all that. Xander knocks at the door, right? So he's like, Mom, are you in there? I know you haven't been checked out yet. So she's like, he's like, maybe he'll go away, I really don't want to face Xander right now. So she make up an excuse about that she needs to find a robe and all that. So she tells Brady to just jump out the window or whatever, and she starts tidying up the room a little bit to let Xander in, right? So Xander comes in and he's like, so she's like, oh, you wasn't expecting me? And she said, yes, I was. Yeah, because Sarah sent me over, right? So he's like, Sarah told me everything about you being in the mental institution and everything you go through, but I just really can't believe it, because you just really abandoned me the whole of my childhood. You've been an absentee parent and all that, so why should I believe you at this point? So she's like, I understand, I understand, and I don't expect you to forgive me, or I don't want to absolve myself from me not being a parent in your life, but this is what really happened to me, and I'm just hoping that we can really work it out and be on better terms and all of that. And I stopped drinking, even though she's lying about that part. So he's like, oh, you stopped drinking? So she's like, yeah, I'm attending meetings, even though that's also a lie. And she said that, yeah, I'm in the program and all that, and I'm just trying to be a better mom towards you and just work on our relationship, right? So he was buying it for a point until he saw something. I don't know what he saw. Maybe it's a bottle, or maybe Brady's clothing or something like that. I guess we'll find out next week, right? So we move on to the next scene. So we go back over to Sarah, right? And Maggie comes over with some clothes for Victoria, and Maggie was over there to see Victoria's up and all that, and Sarah said, no, I just put her down for a nap. So Maggie was about to leave, so Sarah said, no, just let's sit and chat, have some tea. And she's like, okay. So Sarah begins to tell her about what happened to Teresa, right? So Maggie was like, yeah, I already know. I'm the one who drove her to the station. So Sarah didn't really know that part, but Maggie was like, yeah, she asked me to do it for her before she changed her mind, and I still have a soft spot for her because I was her sponsor. And I really think that she was trying to own up to what she's doing. I'm angry at what she did, but I still feel a little bit for her. So Sarah's like, I know Xander doesn't feel any type of way about her more than he hopes that she rots in prison for a long period of time, right? So anyways, they started to talk about Fiona, right? And Sarah tells Maggie about what happened to Fiona and Fiona's past, and she's like, she can relate to her on losing a husband and being an addict and all that, right? So Sarah's like, oh, Xander's over there to see her and he hasn't come back quicker, so maybe it's working out, right? So move on to the next scene. We see Brady walking in the square like a madman. His shirt is on the wrong way. He has some branches in his hair and all that, so he's looking real messy out here. So Paul catches up with him, and Paul is like, Brady, we've been trying to get in touch with you. And he's like, I've been in the office the whole time, locked in. So he's like, why you have a limp? So he's like, I fell somewhere. And then he's like, why you have an accessory in your hair? Like, he's pointing to the branches in his hair, right? So Brady says, like, I probably fell over some hedges or something, some bushes. So he's like, we've been really worried about you. Should we really be worried? And he's like, no, I am okay. I just needed some space. I was really busy at work and all that, making up some excuse. So Paul somewhat buys it, but then at the same time he's like, maybe he should be a little bit more concerned for Brady, right? So Brady left him in the square, and Paul calls Marlena and tells her that he saw Brady and Brady seems to be fine. And she's relieved to hear that, right? So Marlena goes over to Kayla's office, right? Because remember, Kayla tried to send her a message or call her, right, to come over. So she was expecting Kayla, but she saw Steve, and Steve, she was like, hi Steve, surprised to see him. So where's John, right? That means John is home too, right? Where is he? So he's like, Marlena, you better sit down for this, because he's about to tell her exactly what he told Kayla about John being missing, right? So I guess we'll see that in the next week episode, right? So we go over to Jack and Chad, right? So they took a flight to Missouri to go to Clyde's old hometown, right? Poplar Bluff. So they have the video, and they're working with a specific location where they'll possibly find out if Abigail is truly among the living. So they tried looking at some buildings that matched the description in the video, however they weren't successful. And then after that, they tried looking for another building, so they ended up finding a building that has similar structure to what was in the video, right? So the door was locked, and they didn't have no way how to open it, so they did the old-fashioned way, which was to kick down the door. So Chad kicked down the door, and then when he walked in, they had this surprise look on their face, and they were like, oh my gosh. And that was really it. So maybe we'll see that Abigail is there, maybe she isn't, and it's somebody else. We won't know until next week's episode, right? I do apologize for my if you hear my voice a little bit deeper, it's probably because I have a sinus or allergies, so I apologize for that. But thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, follow, subscribe to my channel, comment below your thoughts on today's episode. I will see you guys next week. All right, have a good weekend.